Hello, my name is Cristina and I am going to talk about skill 1 to 7 for the TOEFL exam. In the skill 1, we must make sure that the sentence have a subject and verb. Example, I play soccer. I is my subject and play is my verb. In the skill 2, we have to recognize in the sentence when there is a subject or an object. Because if we have a preposition in, at, on, of, to, be, with, before the subject, then it is an object. Example, the interview by radio broadcaster was a complete success. The interview is my subject. By is my preposition and radio broadcaster is my object. In the skill 3, we are going to identify a positive that for me is a complement for the subject. The skill has two structures. The first, the subject is before the appositive, and in the second, the appositive is before the subject. Example, Sally, the best student in class, got an A on the exam. Or the best student in class, Sally, got an A on the exam. In the skill 4, we have to identify the verb with ing so that we know if it is a verb of an adjective. It's a verb when it is after the verb to be, am is are. For example, the boy is standing in the corner. Adjective when it doesn't have the verb to be before. Example, they both standing in the corner was naughty. In the skill 5, we have to identify the past participle so that we know if it is a verb or an adjective. In this skill, we have three structures. The number 1 is subject, more has, more verb in participle. Example, she has painted this picture. The second is subject, more verb to be, more verb in participle. Example, she painted this picture. And the 3, subject, more verb in participle. Example, the picture painted by Karen is now in a museum. In the skill 6, we have to identify two clauses. In the sentence, clause is subject más verb, so that we use a conjunction. The structure is subject, more verb, more comma, more conjunction, that is and, but, or subject, more subject, more verb. Example, Tom is singing and Paul is dancing. In the skill 7, we are going to use adverb time and cause. Adverb of time can be after, as, once, when, since. And the adverbs of cause can be as, because, now that. And this skill has two structures. The number 1 is clause, that is subject más verb, more adverb connector, more clause, subject más verb. Example, Teresa went inside because it was raining. The second structure is adverb, connector, more clause, subject más verb, more comma, more clause, subject más verb. Example, because it was raining, Teresa went inside.
Hello, my name is Laura, and I am talk about the skill number 8 at 14. We continue with the skill number 8 that deals with the adverb connectors. The structure is formed by the subject plus verb plus adverb connector that can be of conjunction, contrast, manage, and place, plus subject plus verb. For example, I will leave at 7 if I am ready. In this case, if is the conjunction. The skill number 9 has the same structure, but in this one, it talks about the noun connector. It can include the following: what, when, where, why, how, whatever, whenever, whether, if, and that. For example, I know when he will arrive. In this case, when he will arrive is the noun clause. In the skill number 10, we continue talking about the non-connectors, but in this case, it can have a conjunction of subject. In the second part, it does not need a subject. For example, I do not know what is in the box. What is a noun clause. In the skill number 11, talk about the adjective connector that has the same structure as the noun clause, but you can use only those three: whom for people, which for things, and that for people and things. For example, the glass that she out on the table contains me. That she out on the table is an adjective connector. In the skill number 12, like the skill number 10, this can work as a subject using who for people, which for things, and that for people and things. And the adjective connector and subject plus verb is the adjective clause. For example, the woman is playing the glass that is on the table. That is on the table is the adjective clause. In the skill number 13, tell us about the right way to reduce sentence when the player contains that, which, or who plus verb to be are deleted. But when the sentence contains that, which, or who plus verb, the verb, the connector is omitted and the verb is increased the ing. And when the player has a subject in the middle of the two, it cannot be reduced. And finally, the skill number 14, when we have connector plus subject plus verb to be, we can remove the subject and verb to be. And when we have the connector subject plus verb, the subject is removed and ing is added to adverb.
Hi, my name is Almairit, and going to talk about skills 15 at the 19. In the following skills, I will talk about invert the subject and the verb. In the skill 15, there are two structures. Talk about the question words, and the first structures talk about the who, what, when, where, why, how. In the first structures, we need question words, verb and subject and question mark. In the second structure, we need a subject, verb, question, subject, and verb. In the structure 1, an example is what is the homework? And the structure second in the example is I know what they are. In the skill 16, talk about the place expressions. Uh, in the skill, there are two structures. In the first structure, we need and the place necessary and the verb and subject. An example is here is the book that you lent me. In the second structures, the place is not necessary when the subject and the verb. An example in the closet are the clothes that you want. In the skill 17, talk about the negative expressions. And we need a negative expression which are no, not, never, neither, nor, barely, hardly, only, rarely, scarcely, seldom. And verb and subject. An example is never has Mr. Jones taken a vacation. Not at the beginning or the middle are in verb, subject, and the verb. Skill 18 talk about the conditionals. There are two structures. The first structures talk about the omitted elif, el verb, and the subject. For example, I will help you if I were in a position to help. And in verb, I will help you were I in a position to help. And the second structure, no in verb, when the subject and the verb. For example, if he were here, he would help. In the skill 19, talk about the comparisons. Here the invert is optional because rather than require. For example, my sister's spends more hours in the office than John, or my sister spends more hours in the office than John does. Thank you very much for your attention.